A man once complained to Epictetus that fate had taken everything from him: his home, his fortune, his peace. The philosopher looked at him calmly and said, "Then fate has taken what was never yours." That is the essence of Stoicism. Nothing belongs to you. Not your possessions, not your reputation, not even your body. Everything is a loan from nature. And when nature decides to take it back, it is not cruelty, it is law. The Stoics believe that life is not chaos, but an ordered sequence of causes and effects, a divine web, invisible yet perfect. And you, whether you know it or not, are one of its threads. It's a humbling thought that everything that happens as it must. Not as you wish, not as you fear, but as reason itself decrees. When you look at the world through the eyes of fate, through the Stoic lenses of Amor Fati, love of what is, you begin to see the design beneath the disorder. What looks like a detour is direction. What feels like punishment is preparation. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Everything that happens for my good. It may not suit my desires, but it suits the universe. And if it suits the universe, it suits me." It sounds like surrender, but it's not. It is power, because the moment you align your will with the will of life itself, you stop fighting the inevitable and start following the current. And that current, though sometimes dark and cold, never leads anywhere by accident. You think of your own life, the heartbreaks, the delays, the moments when you said, "This can't be happening." Years later, you look back and the pattern becomes visible. The pain that once felt meaningless turned you inward. Where truth waited, the betrayal that shattered you forced you to become self-sufficient. The failure that humiliated you redirected your path towards something real. What was once your curse becomes your teacher. The Stoics didn't just endure hardship, they used it as material for greatness. Seneca called it the art of turning necessity into virtue. You don't choose what happens, but you always choose how to interpret it. The same fire that melts wax hardens clay. The same storm that uproots one tree strengthens another. Nature doesn't play favorites, it tests everything equally. What determines your fate is not the event, but the meaning you give to it. This is why the Stoics never say, "Why me?" He says, "For what purpose?" Because the moment you ask that question, you begin to cooperate with fate instead of cursing it. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of random circumstances and start seeing yourself as a participant in a grand design. The universe becomes less of an enemy and more of a teacher. Even in death, which terrifies most, what's for the Stoics the ultimate reminder of purpose. Marcus Aurelius wrote that death is not a tragedy, but a return. The atoms returning to the earth, the breath returning to the air. What dies, he asked? Only what was never truly yours. To see life this way doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It makes you peaceful, because you no longer cling to moments, you let them pass, knowing that they were always meant to. There is a certain serenity in that acceptance, a calm beyond understanding. Imagine living without constant friction of wishing reality were different. Imagine looking at every twist of your path and saying, "I don't understand it yet, but I trust it." That's not blind faith, it's philosophical clarity. The Stoics trust the order of things not because he's naive, but because he has observed how everything fits together. How chaos itself becomes harmony when seen from a higher view. Seneca once compared life to a play written by the gods. You don't control your role. You can choose whether you're cast as a beggar or a king, a lover or a warrior. Your only duty is to play the part well, to play it with dignity, courage, and truth, to perform your role without resentment of the script. Because if fate is the playwright, rebellion is not bravery, it's arrogance. The wise man doesn't rewrite the play, he perfects his performance. So when you say, "Nothing is coincidence," it's not superstition, it's recognition. You begin to see the hidden architecture of your life. How one conversation led to a door, how one mistake led to a lesson, how one loss revealed what truly mattered. Fate is not something that happens to you, it happens through you. Every morning, the Stoics wake up knowing that today will exactly as it must. Some things will please him, others will wound him, but he greets both the same way, as parts of the same divine pattern. Marcus Aurelius called this loving one's fate, Amor Fati, not tolerating it, loving it, because what you resist persists, and what you embrace transforms. You may not see it as the reason for what's happening to you right now, the delay that frustrates you, the silence that hurts you, the uncertainty that keeps you awake. But perhaps it's not punishment, perhaps it's preparation. The Stoics would say the obstacle is not in your way, it is the way. Every hardship is a tool in the hands of nature, shaping you with someone who can endure, understand, and eventually illuminate others. There are no coincidences, only causes we haven't traced yet. And one day, when you look back from the other side of pain, you'll see what the Stoics always saw, that nothing was random, that every event, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt was necessary, because it carved the strength, the clarity, and the peace you carry now.
Every human being, at some point, asks the same silent question: why do I have to go through this? It comes in moments of heartbreak, failure, or loneliness. Moments that make no sense in the present. You look up and demand an answer, but the universe stays silent. The Stoics would tell you that silence is the answer, because meaning is not revealed when you demand it, it's discovered when you endure. Seneca said that the gods test those they love most, not to punish them, but to prepare them. Just as the blacksmith tempers steel with fire, life tempers the soul with hardship. The Stoic sees every challenge as a summons to virtue. Pain calls for endurance. Injustice calls for wisdom. Loss calls for detachment. Each difficulty carries an instruction hidden inside it, and if you ignore it, you repeat it. The ordinary mind sees events as separate, random fragments. The Stoic mind sees them as connected, links in a chain of cause and effect that stretch beyond understanding. To you, the job you lost may feel like disaster. To the universe, it's redirection. To you, the breakup feels like punishment. To nature, it's correction. The Stoics didn't believe in luck. They believed in necessity. What happens had to happen. The proof is that it did. This doesn't mean the Stoic feels nothing. He feels everything, but interprets differently. When others curse misfortune, he looks for instruction. When others shout, "Why me?" he whispers, "For what purpose?" This small shift in language changes everything. The moment you ask for purpose instead of pity, you invite reason back into the room. You regain your footing in a world that still makes sense, even when it hurts. Marcus Aurelius faced the death of his children, the betrayal of his friends, and the pressure of ruling an empire that constantly disappointed him. Yet his journals, written in the darkness of sleepless nights, speak not of despair, but of perspective. If the world is governed by reason, he wrote, then whatever happens must happen in accord with reason. That was not denial, it was discipline. It was his way of saying, if I can't change the event, I will change the meaning. And that is the heart of Stoic strength, the ability to convert pain into purpose. You can't control external events, but you can always control your relationship to them. When you lose something, you are given a choice to focus on what was taken or to find what was given in return. Maybe loss stripped away your illusion of control, forcing you to discover humility. Maybe betrayal revealed who truly stands beside you. Maybe failure humbled your ambition so it could finally grow roots in wisdom. Epictetus himself knew this better than anyone. He was born a slave, crippled by his master, and yet he became one of the greatest teachers of philosophy. He once said, I must die. Must I then die groaning? He had no power over fate, but total power over his reaction to it. And from that mastery came freedom, a freedom that not even chains could take. To the Stoic, suffering is never wasted. It's raw material for transformation. Seneca compared life to a storm. He said, "The wise man doesn't curse the wind, he adjusts his sails." The same wind that destroys one ship propels another. And the difference between the two is not the wind itself, but the skill of the sailor. That's the Stoic image of existence. The sea is unpredictable, but your mind is the helm. If you hold it steady, you may not control the waves, but you can still choose your direction. Look closely at your own life. How many things once felt unbearable, yet now make sense? The job that didn't work out forced you to find your true calling. The person who left made space for someone who truly sees you. The delay that frustrated you kept you from arriving too soon, before you were ready. What you call coincidence, the Stoics called providence, the rational unfolding of events according to the laws of nature. The fact that you are alive now, reading these words, is itself a product of countless invisible causes that had to align perfectly. To deny purpose is to deny reality's precision. But let's be honest, faith in fate is not easy. It's tested most in the darkness, when reason trembles. Even Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Sometimes I wake and feel as though everything is chaos." He never pretended that acceptance came naturally. It had to be trained, practiced, chosen, again and again. The Stoic does not float peacefully through life. He wrestles with it until understanding emerges. And when it does, he finds a serenity that no circumstance can shake. The world you live in today tells you the opposite. It glorifies control. It tells you that every outcome can be engineered, every pain avoided, every uncertainty conquered. But the Stoics laugh at that illusion. They knew that control is an illusion, and peace comes only when you stop clinging to it. Fate will take what it must, when it must. Your only choice is to meet it with resistance or with grace. Grace doesn't mean passivity, it means alignment. It means acting with excellence within the limits of what you can influence and releasing everything else. You can plan, prepare, and strive, but you must also allow. Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" He believed that the same intelligence that shaped the stars also shaped your struggles. To fight it is to fight the cosmos itself. So when life takes something from you, ask not, "Why did this happen?" but, "What is this making of me?" Because every loss, every trial, every sudden turn in the road has one silent intention: to return you to yourself, to strip away everything that was borrowed, ego, comfort, illusion, until only what is truly yours remains: character, reason, and inner peace. There are no coincidences, only lessons, each one timed perfectly by a universe that never wastes its materials. If there is one truth the Stoics repeated above all others, it's this: the universe is not chaos. It is reason, what we call chance. They called order, an invisible harmony that binds every atom, every breath, every event in an unbreakable chain of cause and effect. They called it logos, the divine rationality that shapes everything, from the birth of a star to the fall of a leaf. To the Stoics, nothing was separate. The universe was a single living organism, and you were a cell within its vast body. What happens to one part affects the whole, and what the whole decrees, every part must endure. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What's bad for the hive is bad for the bee." You cannot wish for your personal fate to be different from the fate of the world. They are one and the same. This understanding changes everything. If the universe operates through reason, then what happens to you, no matter how painful, how sudden, must also contain reason. It may not be your reason, but it is reason nonetheless. Epictetus said, "Everything that happens, happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find it so." That is not blind optimism. It is the courage to look deeper, to see meaning, even where others see only misfortune. Modern life tempts us to believe in randomness, that we are victims of accident, that events unfold without intelligence or order. But the Stoics looked at the night sky and saw something else: patterns, rhythm, design, planets that moved in harmony, seasons that followed each other with precision, growth and decay, life and death, each following its necessary sequence. If such order rules the heavens, why would it not also rule the human heart? Seneca wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling." That line captures the entire philosophy in one sentence. You can resist and be dragged through your destiny kicking and screaming, or you can walk willingly with understanding and call it purpose. The difference is not in the path, but in the posture. The river will carry you either way. The wise man chooses to swim with its current, not against it. But acceptance does not mean inaction. The Stoics were not fatalists who sat in silence waiting for fate to unfold. They were participants in the divine plan, co-creators with nature. You have control, they said, but only over the part of the world that belongs to you, your judgments, your intentions, your actions. Everything else belongs to fate. So the art of living well is to distinguish between what is yours and what is not, and to give your full effort only to what lies within your power. Epictetus compared this to playing dice. You cannot control the numbers that fall, but you can control how you play the hand you're given. A good player does not curse the dice, he uses them skillfully. Likewise, the Stoic does not waste energy wishing for different outcomes. He focuses on mastering his response to them. That, they said, is the true freedom of man, not freedom from fate, but freedom within fate. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the sky breaks open, the trees bend violently. You can shout at the heavens, demand explanation, curse the rain, but the storm will radiate on. The Stoic doesn't do that. He tightens his cloak, plants his feet, and whispers, "This too is part of the plan." He doesn't need to understand the entire storm. He only needs to stay upright within it. That is enough. That is wisdom. This faith in order doesn't mean the Stoic never feels confusion or pain. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, admitted that he often felt lost. "Sometimes I think the world is chaos," he wrote, "and yet I remind myself, if I look closer, even chaos serves a purpose." He trusted that beneath disorder there was design, that even injustice and suffering were not random, but necessary elements of a greater harmony his mind could not yet comprehend. That's what makes Stoicism so radical. It doesn't ask you to escape the world, it asks you to align with it, to accept that pain, loss, and change are not enemies of peace, they are conditions of it. If the universe were truly random, peace would be impossible. But if it is guided by Logos, if even your heartbreaks are woven into the architecture of wisdom, then there is nothing left to fear. Marcus Aurelius called this alignment sympathia, the awareness that everything is connected. When you hurt, the world hurts with you. When you grow, something else in the cosmos grows through you. To live with this awareness is to walk through life differently, slower, gentler, more awake. You stop demanding that the world revolve around your comfort and begin to marvel that it exists at all. You stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What is this moment asking of me?" Seneca once said that the gods behave like wise teachers. They don't grant comfort, they grant correction. They don't remove challenges, they send them precisely where growth must occur. That's why nothing is coincidence. The moment you need courage, something arrives to test it. The moment you need patience, something comes to delay it. The lesson is always tailored to the student. You can spend your life cursing these lessons, or you can start to see the pattern. Every hardship comes on schedule. Every setback is a messenger. And the longer you live with awareness, the clearer the message becomes. The universe is not against you, it's refining you. That's what the Stoics meant when they said, "Live according to nature." They didn't mean run to the woods or abandon civilization. They meant live in agreement with the rhythm of existence, the inevitable rise and fall, gain and loss, life and death. and neither should you. So when you look back at your life, at the moments that broke you and the moments that built you, understand this: they are not separate stories. They are chapters of one book written by the same hand. A book about a soul learning to trust the order behind chaos. And when you finally understand that, when you see the precision in what once felt like cruelty, you will whisper the same words the Stoics did when the storm passed. Nothing was random. Everything had a reason. Now, some exciting news. Our channel now offers a members club. By joining it, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day" so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. When you truly accept that nothing is coincidence, your entire way of living begins to change. You stop rushing. You stop cursing delays. You stop fearing endings. You begin to see a silent hand in everything, not the hand of luck or superstition, but the movement of nature itself, arranging each moment with exact precision. To live that way is to live awake. Most people drift through life like passengers, reacting, complaining, hoping. But the Stoic lives like a participant. He studies every moment as if it were chosen for him. Because, in a sense, it was. If fate is the writer, then every scene you enter carries meaning. You may not always like the script, but you can always act with excellence in your role. Let's imagine some of those scenes. Someone insults you. The old self would react, pride wounded, temper rising. But the Stoic sees a different picture. This moment was sent to test my composure. Nature gave me this challenge, not to humiliate me, but to reveal how stable I really am. He breathes, answers with calm, or says nothing at all. Because silence, in that instant, is not weakness, it's understanding. It's the realization that the insult was never about him, but about the ignorance of the other. Another scene, you lose a job, an opportunity, a relationship. At first, the instinct is to see injustice, to say, "This shouldn't have happened." But the Stoic knows that's impossible. If it happened, it had to happen. Not because the universe delights in your suffering, but because it rearranges circumstances to guide your evolution. The loss you mourn today may be the space your future needs to breathe. The Stoic doesn't deny his sadness, he honors it. But he refuses to call it meaningless. He says, "This too belongs." There's a quiet power in that sentence. This belongs. It doesn't excuse pain, it integrates it. When you see every event as belonging to the great order of things, resentment loses its grip. You no longer fight reality, you learn from it. That's what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. Every obstacle becomes instruction. Every delay becomes direction. Every disappointment becomes preparation. Nothing is wasted. Even the small irritations of daily life, the missed bus, the traffic jam, the spilled coffee, become opportunities for training the soul. Seneca used to say that philosophy should be practiced not in temples, but in the marketplace, where patience and reason are tested every hour. The Stoic doesn't ask for fewer problems, he asks for more wisdom. Because with wisdom, no situation is lost. Think of the calm person in a room full of noise. Everyone else is reacting, panicking, taking things personally. The Stoic stands still, not because he's detached, but because he sees what others can't, the pattern. He knows this has happened before and will happen again. He understands that no argument, no insult, no accident can touch the part of him that belongs to reason. That's where his peace comes from, not from apathy, but from alignment. This philosophy transforms even love and friendship. When you believe that every encounter has purpose, You stop clinging and start appreciating. People come into your life not by accident, but by appointment. Some stay to teach you joy, others to teach you loss. Both are necessary. The Stoic loves deeply but lightly. He gives himself fully while he has the chance, but he's ready to let go when the time comes. Because he knows that what departs was never truly his to keep. As Seneca wrote, we should love all that we may lose, but never lose ourselves in what we love. Acceptance, in this sense, doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because when you stop resisting the inevitable, all your energy becomes available for what you can influence. You no longer waste your strength on wishing or regretting. You direct it toward living well now, toward speaking truth, acting with integrity, showing kindness, mastering yourself. The Stoic doesn't waste emotion on what is gone, he invests it in what remains. This way of life even changes your relationship with time. When you understand that nothing is random, you stop trying to outrun the present moment. You see that every second, no matter how ordinary, is perfectly placed in the rhythm of your destiny. The Stoic doesn't say, I'll live once everything makes sense. He says, everything makes sense because I live now. Each breath is an instruction. Each morning is a new appointment with fate. Epictetus reminded his students to keep before your mind that everything that happens, happens as it should. He didn't mean blind obedience, he meant constant awareness. When you hold that awareness, gratitude naturally follows. Because how could you be ungrateful in a world that designs every experience for your growth? You start to see miracles in the mundane. The right word at the right time. The stranger who helps without reason. The failure that saves you from arrogance. You begin to notice the quiet choreography of existence, and you marvel at its precision. And when tragedy strikes, when someone dies, when dreams collapse, this philosophy doesn't erase the pain. It gives it a frame. It tells you that the story isn't over just because the chapter hurts. That behind the sorrow is an intelligence too vast for your current understanding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, whatever happens to the parts is for the good of the whole. And you, being part of that whole, are also included in that good, even when it doesn't feel like it. The Stoic grieves, but he doesn't despair. Because despair says, life has no meaning. Wisdom says, meaning is just hidden. To live this way is to walk through the world with a kind of sacred trust. You may not know where the road leads, but you know it leads somewhere necessary. You begin to see how your joys and your struggles weave together like threads in a tapestry you're too close to see. Step back, and the image reveals itself. Beauty born from difficulty, order rising from pain, strength shaped by time. That's what it means to live believing that nothing is coincidence. It means you meet life not as an enemy, but as an ally disguised in mystery. You wake each day knowing that the next thing that happens, whatever it is, belongs to your story. And you whisper, as the Stoics did before you, I don't control the wind, but I will master the sail. When you finally stop fighting life, something incredible happens. Silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of alignment. The noise of resistance fades, and in its place comes a strange peace, one that doesn't depend on comfort, success, or approval. It's the calm that appears when you stop asking, why, and start whispering, thank you. This is the quiet reward of trusting fate. The Stoics knew that serenity was not given by luck or circumstance. It was built through understanding. Once you accept that the universe makes no mistakes, peace becomes possible. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop demanding that it should. You begin to see perfection even in imperfection, purpose even in pain. Marcus Aurelius said, the universe loves to rearrange itself. He saw every disruption, not as destruction, but as transformation. The Stoic mind learns to see in every ending the seed of a beginning. The relationship that breaks, the plan that collapses, the dream that dies, all of them clear space for something truer to emerge. It's only the frightened ego that calls it loss. The wise soul calls it renewal. Gratitude, then, becomes the highest form of intelligence. Not the shallow gratitude that thanks life only for comfort, but the deeper kind, the kind that thanks life for correction. You begin to thank the storm that showed you your strength, the failure that taught you humility, the solitude that taught you self-sufficiency. This gratitude is not emotional, it's philosophical. It's the recognition that everything that happens is part of your education. Every event is a lesson dressed in disguise, and the wise man is the one who recognizes the teacher behind the pain. Imagine living that way, looking back on your hardest years and realizing that life was never cruel, only careful. That the same force that breaks you also rebuilds you. That what felt like abandonment was actually redirection. The Stoics lived with this clarity every day. They saw human life as a sacred apprenticeship, the universe constantly shaping us into something worthy of itself. Seneca wrote, "No one is unhappy who understands the pattern of the universe." He meant that unhappiness comes from confusion, from thinking life should have been different. Once you see that it couldn't have been, resentment dies. And in its place grows an unshakable trust, a quiet conviction that everything is unfolding exactly as it must. This doesn't mean apathy, it means alignment. You still act, strive, and love, but without fear. You know that whatever happens next will belong to your story, even if it hurts. There's a certain lightness that comes with this trust. You stop clinging to people, possessions, and outcomes. You start loving them for what they are, temporary gifts. Epictetus reminded his students to practice this every day. He said, "When you kiss your child, say to yourself, tomorrow he may die, not to be cruel, but to be awake. To remember that everything you love is borrowed, and that true appreciation begins with that awareness. When you live this way, you love more, not less, because you no longer take anything for granted. You don't waste time pretending that permanence exists. You experience everything fully, knowing that it may never come again." That is the paradox of Stoic detachment. It doesn't make you cold, it makes you deeply present. When you accept that nothing lasts forever, you stop postponing your gratitude. You savor the moment, the voice, the sunlight, the breath, because you know each one is a small miracle. The Stoics didn't reject emotion, they refined it. They didn't avoid love, they purified it from dependency. Their peace was not the absence of feeling, it was the mastery of it. As this inner transformation deepens, something else shifts. Fear loses its voice. The person who trusts fate no longer fears change. He no longer panics when plans fail or people leave, because he has seen this pattern before, life closing one door only to open another. He doesn't need to control the rhythm, he only needs to stay in tune. And when you live in tune with the universe, the smallest moments begin to feel divine. A conversation, a coincidence. You begin to see how everything, even the mundane, carries meaning. Fate speaks in whispers, and silence becomes your new language. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this. He said that the wise man learns to stand upright, not be held upright. That's what trust in fate creates, self-sufficiency of the soul. You no longer need the world to behave a certain way for you to be at peace. Peace becomes your default, not your prize. And that is the highest freedom, to remain calm not because everything is perfect, but because you understand that perfection was never the goal. Understanding was. In this quiet understanding, life itself becomes prayer. Every act of patience, every breath of gratitude, every calm response in the face of chaos becomes an offering to the order that created you. You stop seeking miracles because you finally realize you are living in one. The odds of your existence, the precision of your heartbeat, the orchestration of your path. None of it random, all of it miraculous. The Stoic doesn't need to look for proof of meaning. He sees it on everywhere. in the constellation, in a child's laughter, in his own endurance. And when things go wrong, as they inevitably will, he doesn't lose faith, because he no longer believes in accident. He believes in timing, in purpose, in the wisdom of the whole. So when life tests you again, when you lose, when you fail, when you are misunderstood, remember this: the universe is not punishing you. It's promoting you. It's not ignoring you, it's instructing you. You don't need to understand the lesson immediately, only to stay open long enough for it to reveal itself. Because meaning always arrives after acceptance. That's the secret peace the Stoics carried, a serenity that the world could never take because it was not built on outcomes, but on understanding. They didn't say everything happens for a reason as a comfort. They lived it as truth. And when you do the same, when you start to see intelligence where others see coincidence, you enter that rare state where nothing surprises you, yet everything amazes you. At some point in life, every man realizes that control is an illusion. You can plan, build, and chase, but life will always rewrite the script. It will bring people you never expected, take away what you thought you couldn't live without, and lead you through storms you never saw coming. And when that happens, you'll face a choice: to resist or to align. The Stoics chose alignment. They didn't worship fate as a tyrant, they embraced it as a teacher. To them, destiny wasn't an external force, but the natural rhythm of reason itself, logos, weaving through every breath, every rise, every fall. And the highest wisdom wasn't to change the pattern, but to walk in harmony with it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Live in agreement with the nature of things." That single sentence contains a lifetime of serenity. It means stop expecting the world to obey your desires. Stop demanding that life unfold according to your plans. Stop fighting the current that was never yours to control. Because every moment, no matter how painful or confusing, has already been measured, weighed, and placed precisely where it belongs, for you, not against you. This realization doesn't make life easier, it makes it meaningful. When you finally see that nothing is random, even your suffering becomes sacred. You stop asking life for comfort and start asking it for clarity. You stop wishing for calm seas and start training to sail in storms. You begin to understand what the Stoics understood, that the purpose of existence is not pleasure but progress. Every trial is a forge, every loss a carving of the soul, every delay a rehearsal for patience. Seneca wrote, "A good man dyes events with his own color and turns whatever happens to his own benefit." That is the purest expression of Stoic power, transformation. The weak man demands a perfect life. The wise man perfects his mind within an imperfect one. He doesn't wait for meaning to appear. He brings meaning to everything he touches. He learns to bless the event before he understands it, because faith in the order of things always precedes proof. When you live like this, something subtle yet extraordinary happens. You begin to feel lighter. The weight of what if disappears. The anxiety of control dissolves. You walk through life not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence, the kind that comes from knowing that whatever happens next will meet you exactly where you are meant to be. You no longer chase signs or beg for certainty. You live as if the entire universe were already conspiring to shape you, because it is. This trust turns every moment into a meditation. When someone hurts you, you think, "This too belongs." When you fail, you whisper, "This too teaches." When you lose something, you breathe, "This too transforms me." And slowly, without noticing, you stop living in resistance and start living in rhythm. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop fearing and start understanding. That is what the Stoics called eudaimonia, the flourishing of the soul. It's not the loud joy of victory, but the quiet contentment of alignment. It's waking up and realizing that nothing needs to change for you to be at peace. Because peace isn't found in events, it's found in interpretation. The mind, once trained to see order, can find beauty even in decay, reason even in chaos, and love even in loss. When Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, he wasn't writing for the world. He was writing to himself, reminding his own heart to stay calm amid impermanence. He wrote, "Whatever happens to you was prepared for you from eternity, and the thread of causes spun together long ago brought it to pass." Imagine believing that, truly believing it. How could you ever despair again? How could you ever see yourself as a victim? You would understand that every step, every stumble, every sorrow is part of a design too vast to see, but too perfect to doubt. And that's the final lesson. Acceptance is not resignation, it's participation. To accept fate is to collaborate with it, to walk side by side with reality and say, "I trust your timing." You stop treating life as an adversary to conquer and start honoring it as a partner in your growth. You live not in complaint, but in conversation with destiny. And through that dialogue, you discover something miraculous. Peace not as escape, but as embodiment. When you finally reach that level of understanding, you'll see it clearly. Every heartbreak brought you humility. Every failure taught you precision. Every silence deepened your strength. Every delay saved you from something you weren't ready for. Everything, absolutely everything, was the universe shaping you into the person capable of understanding this truth. So now, when fate whispers again, when plans change, when people leave, when storms return, you'll know what to say. You'll breathe deeply and whisper back, "Nothing is coincidence. Everything has purpose." And in that moment of surrender, you will feel it, not resignation, but liberation. Because once you see the perfection in what once felt random, life itself becomes your teacher, and every breath becomes proof that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.